this entire drink cost me less than the spare change sitting in your car right now. No brewery, no kit, no expensive equipment. Just water, sugar, a splash of lemon, and one ingredient most people already have in their kitchen cupboard without realizing what it can actually do. By the end of this video, you'll understand exactly how forgotten kitchen staples turn into a fizzy, fermented drink and why the science behind it is more interesting than the price tag. Quick note before we start. This video is for viewers of legal drinking age, and it's purely educational. Check your local laws on home fermentation before trying anything you see here, since rules differ depending on where you live. Here's the concept in one sentence. Yeast eats sugar, and as a waste product, it produces alcohol and carbon dioxide. That's it. That's the entire chemistry behind beer, wine, cider, and what we're making today. The only real differences between all of those drinks come down to what sugar source you start with and what flavor you add on top. Today, we're using the cheapest possible version of that idea. Plain table sugar dissolved in water with lemon juice for flavor, fermented with ordinary baking yeast. No specialty brewing yeast required. If you got a kitchen, you've basically got a tiny fermentation lab already. Let's go through exactly what's going into this and what it actually costs, because tracking the price is half the fun of this kind of experiment. First, water, half a liter of it warm, half a liter cold. Water's free, so that's not going on the bill. Second, plain white sugar. This feeds the yeast and is where essentially all of the alcohol content comes from. We're using a small amount, well under a pound's worth, even at supermarket prices. Third, fresh squeezed or bottled lemon juice, just a splash, purely for flavor. It barely affects the strength of the drink at all. Fourth, and this is the one people forget, a small amount of plain baking yeast. The same stuff you'd use to make bread rise. A single packet lasts for dozens of batches, so the actual cost per use is close to nothing. Add it all up, and you're looking at well under $1 for a full liter of finished drink. The water and basic equipment cost nothing extra if you already have a clean bottle sitting around. Here's the process step by step. Start with a clean 1 liter plastic bottle. Clean is doing a lot of work in that sentence, because any leftover bacteria in there will compete with your yeast and can ruin the batch. Add your sugar first, then pour in the warm water and screw the cap on tight. Give it a proper shake. This does two things. It dissolves the sugar completely, and it mixes a bit of oxygen into the liquid, which your yeast actually wants in the early stage before fermentation gets going. Once the sugar is fully dissolved, open it back up and add your splash of lemon juice for flavor. Now it sits for around 7 to 10 days at room temperature, ideally somewhere warm and consistent. This is where the actual chemistry happens. Yeast cells are multiplying and consuming the sugar, releasing carbon dioxide as the bottle gently pressurizes and slowly producing alcohol as a byproduct. Temperature matters more than people expect. If it's kept too cold, fermentation can stall out completely, meaning the yeast goes dormant before it's finished the job, and you'd be left with a flat, overly sweet, barely fermented liquid. Keeping it somewhere warm and stable is the difference between a finished drink and a failed batch. After about 10 days, take a second hydrometer reading. If the number has dropped significantly from your starting reading and has mostly leveled off, that tells you the yeast has consumed most of the available sugar and fermentation is essentially complete. Once fermentation has finished, don't rush to drink it right away. Instead, place the bottle in the refrigerator for 2 to 3 days. This process is known as cold crashing, and while it sounds technical, it's actually very simple. The cold temperature slows the remaining yeast activity and causes yeast cells, fruit particles, and other tiny bits still suspended in the liquid to sink to the bottom of the bottle. The result is a much clearer and cleaner looking drink. When you pour it carefully, most of the sediment stays behind. This step is optional if you don't mind a cloudier result. But if you've ever wondered why homebrewed drinks sometimes look hazy compared to store-bought ones, this missing step is usually the reason. A couple of extra days in the fridge is genuinely the easiest upgrade you can make to the final result. The effort is minimal, but the improvement is often immediately noticeable. And now the part we've been waiting for. Pour it slowly so you don't disturb whatever settled at the bottom, and take a look at the clarity first. After cold crashing, it should look noticeably brighter than it did going in. The smell should be lightly citrus, with a faint background note that's just part of any sugar-based fermentation. that's completely normal and not a sign anything went wrong. As for the taste, what you're aiming for is something closer to a sparkling. Slightly tart lemonade with a noticeable kick behind it rather than anything that tastes overtly alcoholic or harsh. If yours tastes off, sour in a bad way, or smells distinctly unpleasant, that's usually a sign of contamination, and the safest move is to not drink that batch. What I find genuinely interesting about this isn't just the price. It's that this exact same basic method, sugar, water, yeast, and a flavor of your choice, is the foundation behind an enormous range of drinks people pay a lot more money for. Swap the lemon for other fruit juices, and you get an entirely different flavor profile using the same underlying process. If you're going to experiment further, the only real rule is patience. Rushing the fermentation time or skipping the cold crash step is where most people lose quality, not in the ingredients themselves. If you want to see this same method tried with a completely different fruit next, let me know in the comments which one you'd want to see first. And remember, this is for educational purposes only, for viewers of legal drinking age. So always check your local laws before trying any home fermentation yourself. Subscribe if you want to follow the rest of this series. See you in the next one.